This is Simon's version of the Necronomicon. Other versions are available. In Simon's version of the Necronomicon, the 7 traditional planets are each associated with a different Mesopotamian deity, metallic chemical element and number. I will be calling the numbers Necronomicon numbers. All the Necronomicon numbers are composite numbers. A composite number is a number that is a whole number that is greater than 1 and is not a prime number. The smallest Necronomicon number is the smallest composite number, 4. The other rule that all the Necronomicon numbers follow is that if you divide 120 by a Necronomicon number, you get another composite number. This means that Necronomicon numbers are in pairs that multiply together to make 120. There are 8 numbers that follow those 2 rules. Because there are 7 traditional planets, one number has no partner to form a pair with. That is the number for the Sun, 20, which would pair with 6. The 7 traditional planets are 5 of the 6 modern planets that can be seen without a telescope, plus the Sun and the Moon. The Sun and the Moon are included because the old meaning of the word planet is wanderer, and the Sun and the Moon, like the modern planets, wander about relative to the background of fixed stars as viewed from Earth. Uranus can be seen without a telescope and was observed in ancient times, but because it moves so slowly, the people who saw it thought it was a fixed star, not a planet. In the diagrams, I will be using the standard astronomical symbols for the planets and the chemical symbols for the metals. The traditional planets are listed in the Necronomicon in order of how fast they appear to move relative to the fixed stars as viewed from Earth from fastest to slowest. That order, with associated deity, metal and number, is the Moon, Nana, silver, 30. Mercury, Nebo, Mercury the metal, 12. Venus, Inanna, copper, 15. The Sun, Shamash, gold, 20. Mars, Nergal, iron, 8. Jupiter, Marduk, tin, 10. Saturn, Ninib, lead, 4. This is the order in which you pass through the gates of the deities. Because it meaningfully represents the relationships between the numbers and makes the patterns easier to follow and beautiful to me, I am adding notes from a lyre at frequencies in decahertz equal to the numbers. A decahertz is 10 hertz. I chose decahertz because it gives a convenient range of pitch from about half a semitone below the lowest pitch on a standard bass guitar to about 1 2/3 of a semitone below the tuning of the highest pitched string on a standard guitar. If you arrange the numbers evenly around a circle in that order, with Shamash at the top, then horizontal lines link the pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 120. If they are arranged in that order clockwise, then going anti-clockwise gives you the order of the planets in traditional planetary hours. Planetary hours divide the day into 12 equal hours, from dawn till dusk, and the night into 12 equal hours, from dusk till dawn. Because the length of daylight can vary, hours usually have different lengths during the night compared with during the day, and the lengths are different at different times of year. The planet that rules the first hour of the day, starting at dawn, also rules that day. The next hour is ruled by the next planet anti-clockwise, and so on. In the 24 hours that make up a day and a night, we make 3 complete circuits and then go 3 more steps along. So, for example, starting at the sun, on the day of the sun, called Sunday, we go 3 times completely around, and then 3 steps further, taking us to the moon, which rules the first hour of the day of the moon, called Monday. We make the order of the days of the week by arranging the deities around a circle in the order which you pass through the gates, and then drawing a 7-pointed star by jumping 3 steps each time instead of 1 step. Apart from Saturday being ruled by Saturn, the other day names are not obvious in English because they are named after Germanic deities, not the Roman deities that give us the planet names, or the Mesopotamian deities. However, the deities in the different traditions are related to each other, coming from a common source. The order of days with associated planets and Mesopotamian deities is Sunday, Sun, Shamash; Monday, Moon, Nana; Tuesday, Mars, Nergal; Wednesday, Mercury, Nebo; Thursday, Jupiter, Marduk; Friday, Venus, Inanna; Saturday, Saturn, Ninib. You can arrange the numbers around a circle in order of days of the week, with Sunday at the top. Again, the horizontal lines link numbers multiplying together to make 120. If instead we draw a 7-pointed star by jumping 2 steps each time instead of 3, then we get the deities in order of the atomic number of their associated metals, starting with iron for Mars, Nergal, and ending with lead for Saturn, Ninib. The atomic number is the number of protons in the nucleus of each atom of the metal. The atomic number determines the chemical properties of the metal. The atomic numbers with metal, associated planet, deities, and Necronomicon numbers are as follows: 26, iron, Mars, Nergal, 8; 29, copper, Venus, Inanna, 15; 47, silver, the moon, Nana, 30; 50, tin, Jupiter, Marduk, 10; 79, gold, the sun, Shamash, 20; 80, Mercury the metal, Mercury the planet, Nebo, 12; 82, lead, Saturn, Ninib, 4. If you arrange the numbers in that order, equally spaced around a circle, with gold, the sun, Shamash, at the top, then horizontal lines connect pairs of numbers multiply together to make 120. It may interest you to know that 6 of the metals are in pairs, with one of the pair having an atomic number greater than the other by 3. Mercury, Nebo, is not in a pair. The pairs are iron and copper, silver and tin, gold and lead. Now, to start to look at the patterns in the Necronomicon numbers. If they are arranged in the way just described, then starting at Inanna and going round the circle in the direction of Shamash, the first 4 Necronomicon numbers are those that are multiples of 5, and the last 4 Necronomicon numbers are those that are multiples of 4. Going back to the Necronomicon numbers in the order that you pass through the gates, the first 3 numbers are those that are multiples of 3. I wanted to be able to combine the 3 circular diagrams into one diagram that showed the 3 orders clearly. After messing about a bit, I came up with a hexagonal arrangement. Shamash is in the middle, and pairs of numbers that multiply together to make 120 are at opposite corners of the hexagon. After I came up with it, I realised I had seen it before. I had been shown a topologically equivalent pattern by Helen Kirby. After that, I discovered that another topologically equivalent pattern is used in the coat of arms of the Royal Society of Chemistry of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. To demonstrate how the pattern works, here are the orders of the planets. Order that you pass through the gates. Order of the days of the week. Order of the atomic number of the metals. With regard to the pattern in the Necronomicon numbers, on the coat of arms you can see the Necronomicon numbers above this line are those that are multiples of 3. The numbers to the right of this line are those that are multiples of 5. The numbers to the left of this line are those that are multiples of 4. Making each number the smallest number that satisfies those 3 conditions, we now multiply the numbers connected by this equilateral triangle by 2. This is enough to generate all the Necronomicon numbers for the correct planets. As well as numbers being pairs that multiply together to make 120, there are other ways that the numbers are in pairs which are meaningful musically and make geometric sense on the coat of arms. There are 3 pairs of numbers where one number in the pair is twice the other. Musically, doubling the frequency is going up in pitch an octave, for example from C up to the next C, or from F up to the next F. The 3 pairs are 4 and 8, Ninib and Nergal, 10 and 20, Marduk and Shamash, and 15 and 30, Inanna and Nana. You can see that the lines connecting the members of a pair are all parallel on the coat of arms. There are 3 pairs of numbers where one number in the pair is 1.5 times the other. Musically, this is a perfect fifth. Perfect fifths are very important in many styles of music and are found in heavy metal power chords. The 3 pairs are 8 and 12, Nergal and Nebo, 10 and 15, Marduk and Inanna, and 20 and 30, Shamash and Nana. Again, the lines linking the members of these pairs are parallel to each other, but at a different angle to those linking the previous 3 pairs. The final 3 are pairs of numbers where one number is 5 halves times the other. Musically, this is an octave plus a major third, which is also known as a major tenth. The 3 pairs are 4 and 10, Ninib and Marduk, 8 and 20, Nergal and Shamash, and 12 and 30, Nebo and Nana. Again, the lines linking the members of these pairs are parallel to each other while being at a different angle to the lines linking the previous pairs. With the 9 lines drawn, the planets seem to be the corners of a cube, the lines being the edges. A cube has 8 corners, so there is one missing. The unused Necronomicon number 6 fits the bill perfectly, making a cube in which the numbers at the corners can be derived simply from their Cartesian coordinates. Specifically, n equals 4 times 5 halves to the power of x times 2 to the power of y times 3 halves to the power of z. Or, in decimals, n equals 4 times 2.5 to the power of x times 2 to the power of y times 1.5 to the power of z. What, if anything, does the number 6 mean? To fit the patterns already shown, it seems that it must be in the same place as the Sun in the 3 cycles. That means that it must be in the same place as the Sun in the order of the speed of motion relative to the fixed stars. If it travels at the same speed as the Sun, I thought that suggests that either it is the Sun itself again, or it is in opposition to the Sun, the most direct route away from the Sun into the interstellar void. The possibility that the number 6 means anything at all is purely speculative. As an aside, Inanna has the only odd Necronomicon number, 15, and is the only planetary deity described as female. I don't know whether this is a coincidence or means something. In another book by Simon, The Gates of the Necronomicon, Simon draws attention to the fact that all the Necronomicon numbers except Nurgle are factors of 60, making Nurgle the rule breaker. I hadn't particularly noticed that myself, having been focused on the numbers as factors of 120. From my point of view, Nurgle was unusual in that way, purely because Nurgle is paired with Inanna, the two multiplying together to make 120, and Inanna is the only odd number, forcing Nurgle to be 8. I have to admit that being the only number not a factor of 60 is special in that there is no other number x where you can say that only one Necronomicon number is not a factor of x, so Simon has a point in my opinion. If you leave out the two highest numbers, 30, Nana, and 20, Shamash, then you have the 5 traditional planets that are still called planets today. It happens that in Chinese culture, those 5 planets are associated with the 5 Chinese elements, known as the Wu Xing. Not only that, but if you start at the highest remaining number, 15, Inanna, and work your way down the numbers steadily, you list the elements in an order where each element naturally generates the next. 15, Inanna, Venus, the element metal, generates water. 12, Nebo, Mercury, the element water, generates wood. 10, Marduk, Jupiter, the element wood, generates fire. 8, Nurgle, Mars, the element fire, generates earth. 4, Ninib, Saturn, the element earth, generates metal. Similarly, there is another cycle in the Wu Xing where each element conquers the next. Water puts out fire, and so on. Generating cycle. Conquering cycle. Just to be clear, the Chinese have their own different set of pictures that they associate with the planets and the elements. Generating cycle. Conquering cycle. There are some ways that the Necronomicon numbers represent astronomical facts. The moon, Nana, is 30. A lunar month is approximately 30 days long, 29.53 days on average more accurately. The other facts are based on 120 divided by the Necronomicon numbers. For Inanna, 120 divided by 15 is 8. The position of Venus relative to the fixed stars as viewed from Earth repeats itself every 8 years. For Marduk, 120 divided by 10 is 12. It takes approximately 12 years for Jupiter to orbit the Sun. 11.862 is a more accurate figure. For Ninib, 120 divided by 4 is 30. It takes approximately 30 years for Saturn to orbit the Sun. 29.4571 is a more accurate figure. Another way to look at the Necronomicon numbers is to arrange them in a multiplication table. Draw a 4x4 grid of squares. At the top, write the odd factors of 120, 15, 5, 3 and 1. Down the side, write the factors of 120 that are powers of 2. 1, 2, 4 and 8. Each square represents the number that you get when you multiply the number at the top of the column by the number at the end of the row. When the Necronomicon numbers are marked in the table, they have patterns that interest me when looking at the associated metals and days of the week. When looking at the metals in order of atomic number, you start with the only Necronomicon number on the 4th row. Then you go to the top left and read from left to right and top to bottom as though reading words from a page. The metals in the 2nd row of the multiplication table are in the 5th row of the periodic table of the chemical elements. Going from left to right in the multiplication table, you go from left to right in the periodic table. The metals in the 3rd row of the multiplication table are in the 6th row of the periodic table. Going from left to right in the multiplication table, you go from left to right in the periodic table. Unfortunately, iron and copper don't fit quite as neatly because they are on different rows of the multiplication table despite being on the same row of the periodic table. If it's any consolation, the periodic table used to be divided into A and B sections, and iron and copper were in different sections, whereas the metals that appear in the same row of the multiplication table as each other were always in the same section. When looking at the days of the week on the multiplication table, going through the week chronologically, you move diagonally. If you rotated the table by 135 degrees clockwise, then you would read the days of the week from left to right and top to bottom like reading words from a page. Some people associate different numbers with the planets. For example, Helen Kirby introduced me to a system where the numbers 3 to 9 are associated with the planets. You start with 9 being associated with the moon, and then the number decreases by 1 for each planet in the order you pass through the gates of the Necronomicon. You can sometimes convert from the Necronomicon numbers to other systems of numbers with a simple mathematical relationship. If the Necronomicon number is n equals 2 to the power of a times 3 to the power of b times 5 to the power of c, where a, b and c are all whole numbers, then Helen Kirby's number is k equals 2a plus 5b plus 3c minus 1. Similarly, James Smothers introduced me to two different selections of numbers associated with the planets, one of which is based on the order of the days in the week. Taking A, B and C defined the same way, you can calculate J equals 15 minus 4A minus 3B minus 6C, and S equals 132 minus 22A minus 66B minus 33C. Some systems, including both of James Smothers' systems mentioned here, give numbers for other things, for example the planets Uranus and Neptune. In those cases you may be able to calculate theoretical Necronomicon numbers for those things, though I have never been completely satisfied with the results that gives. Using James Smothers' numbers and working backwards gives you Necronomicon numbers of 6 for Uranus and 5 for Neptune. I'm deeply unhappy with 5 because it is not a composite number when every other Necronomicon number is composite. Maybe it's supposed to stand out from the pack, like Inanna being an odd number or Nurgle not being a factor of 60. Neptune is an exception in that it is the only planet that is not visible to the naked eye. Thank you very much for listening, if you have.